Hello, you are listening to episode 34 of the Learn and Work Smarter podcast. Since January 2024, I have uploaded a new episode every Thursday, and I've recorded one Q&A episode each month. So that means that this week's episode, which is our monthly Q&A episode, is my 8th round of answering listener questions, and that is you. If you are new to the podcast and are wondering how to submit questions to be answered on future episodes, you just go to learnandworksmarter.com and there is a form right there on the homepage. Super simple form where you enter your question, I add it to my queue, and I will answer it in one of our monthly Q&A episodes, like today. Now, I know I just said that this is my 8th month doing this, but I feel like I spend so much of my time answering questions from the community. I absolutely love that, and it's one of my favorite parts about what I do. But what I mean by that is, as part of my School Habits University course, people who enroll get 12 months access to me. They get lifetime, access to the course, but 12 months of being able to submit their personal questions and I answer them. So between these monthly Q&A podcast episodes and answering questions of those who are enrolled in the course, I feel like so many of my weeks are spent answering questions. And I absolutely love that. And I will say here what I tell everyone inside the course. Even if I am not answering your specific question today on the podcast, I invite you to stick around and listen all the way through, because sometimes we hear other people ask questions that we didn't even know we had. Okay, so I am going to answer 3 questions today. I have found that to fit under my 30-minute target of these episodes, I can usually get to 2 questions, but we are going to shoot for 3 today. So we are going to see how that goes. The first question is submitted by a college student, and the second and third questions are submitted by working professionals. All right, let's do this. Hello, you are listening to the Learn and Work Smarter podcast, the podcast for students and professionals who want to learn and work smarter. I'm your host, executive function coach, and founder of schoolhabits.com, Katie Azevedo. As a reminder, everything I mention in today's episode will be linked in the show notes, including a link to the transcript, which you can also find at learnandworksmarter.com/podcast. All right, our first question is submitted by a student who gave me some background information that I won't read verbatim here, okay? But she's headed off to college for the first time and will be living away from home for the first time, and she's asking about advice to have a good freshman year. All right, I'm going to read the question. She says, "Hi, Katie. I recently discovered your podcast on YouTube, and now I'm going back to listen to all your previous episodes. I love them and think your topics are so helpful." Yay. I have a question about college. I'm a freshman in college in the fall of 2024, and I'm wondering if you have any advice for first-year students. I did well in high school and never really struggled, but honestly think that's because my classes were easy and my teachers were lenient. I'm worried I'll be shocked when I go to college about how hard everything is, and I'm getting worried I won't be able to do as well as I did in high school. What are some tips you have that you think might help? Sorry, my question is so long. Thank you. Okay. First of all, your question is not long at all. In fact, a lot of times when people fill out the form to submit their questions, they give me like paragraphs and paragraphs of information, and what I read here on the podcast is an abbreviated version. I think your question is awesome, and I know that you're asking from the perspective of a college freshman. But honestly, I'm thinking that the tips that I'm going to share in a moment will be helpful to anybody going back to school in the fall, no matter what grade level you're in, okay? So I want to start with some stuff that's more like tactical advice and then move on to a tip that might be more strategic, okay, if that's the right word. So I talk a lot about systems on this podcast, and about having the right systems in place can help us be more productive and efficient and honestly less stressed out. So my first tip has to do with setting up some key systems. Now, one key difference between high school and college that tends to shock people, to use your words, the most is that the amount of free time or open space that you have open in a day or a week is drastically different. If you think about it, in high school, all your courses are chunked together back to back in one chunk of time from like 8 to 2. And you don't really need that many systems for that chunk of time in your day because you're just being like herded from class to class and essentially being told where to go and what to do. You do need some time management and task management systems to manage your time after school, okay? But even then, if you're playing sports and doing activities, then you're really only responsible for managing a few hours a day. Now, it is not like that in college at all, and that's the rude awakening for a lot of students. In college, you may only have 1 to 3 classes a day, or maybe even no classes on a Wednesday, right? And you are responsible for managing so much more time. So regardless of what your time management system looked like in high school, you're going to need something much more robust in college. Same thing for your task management system. Now, in high school, you were likely assigned something on one day and it was due 1 or 2 days later, right? But it is not like that in college because your classes are more spread out, right? And most homework assignments are more like long-term projects that you have to manage your own. Okay, now that's a lot of lead up, and I haven't even told you the tip yet, but the tip really is to put some intentional energy into creating and maintaining task management and time management systems. Now, although task management and time management are two different things, these two systems often work in harmony, kind of like interlocking gears, I guess, if that's a visual that makes sense. If you have a good time management system, but no good task management system, or vice versa, then things are going to fall apart and you're honestly going to end up probably pretty overwhelmed. So time management in college, what does that look like? That means making time visible. That means, using a digital calendar or a paper calendar to put some shape to your days. All right. Blocking out times and days that you have classes and adding buffer time or commute time to and from those classes. That is actually something that a lot of people forget to include. All right. It would mean making visible the time that you spend in the gym, in your college activities, in the dining hall, and yes, including the time it takes to get to and from these places. And then you would identify the days and the time blocks that are the most sensible pockets of your week to do the chunks of work. Now, in college, these chunks of work and study time should create some sort of pattern in your week, right? If you have 3 classes on Monday and only 1 class on Tuesday, then you would probably identify that Tuesday has more time in the day for you to work on assignments from your 3 Monday classes. Does that make sense? And then that would be something that you would probably repeat each week. So you would know that most Tuesdays you're going to go to the library for a chunk of time to work on your work from the 3 classes on Monday. All right, so there's like a pattern there. I'm often asked if digital calendars or physical calendars like a personal planner are better for this type of thing. And my answer is it always depends on your preferences and your needs. But in most cases, I recommend a digital calendar. There's a lot less friction there when it comes to adding and deleting events and sort of like shuffling and dragging things around. Now, the second system you need to have locked and loaded in college is task management. Now, gone, honestly, are the days of high school where you're given an assignment one night and the next day in school, the teacher reminds you that it's, due the next day. That is not at all how it works at the college level. I'm so sorry. Okay, so you will have a learning management system, something like Canvas, okay, like it's super digital, but I do not recommend that you use this as your task management system. This is actually where I suggest that you go with something physical, like a planner. Why do I so strongly suggest that you don't use your learning management system as a task management system? Because your school designated learning management system, your LMS, doesn't allow you to create your own tasks and assignments, and that is something you will need to do in college. So, for example, your learning management system might have an assignment in there for like a lab report. Okay. It maybe lists the name of the assignment, the details, the due date, and then obviously that's the portal through which you actually submit the assignment, right? But nowhere in there is a way for you to break down that large lab report assignment and to designate to yourself that you're going to work on the data collection section on Monday and making your tables on Tuesday and writing the analysis and the conclusion on Wednesday, right? You might have an assignment in there that a teacher posted that's a reminder that you have a test on Friday. But nowhere in there is a way for you to add in the study blocks on, I don't know, the 7 days leading up to that test. Do you get what I'm saying? So yes, you're going to keep your learning management system and you're going to let all the assignment details and the links and the PDFs and everything that is related to the assignment live inside the portal. But I recommend that you have some kind of simple academic planner where you can write down the assignments yourself. Is this redundant? Not really. Hear me out. So let's say that you have an assignment in your learning management system that is a multi-step assignment. Maybe it involves reading 5 different articles and watching 5 accompanying videos and then answering questions about each article video pair. It's actually in a summer AP summer assignment I did recently with a student. But all of the PDFs and video links, okay, they're going to be inside your learning management system. Fine. Okay. Would you copy all that information into your paper planner? Would you copy all the URLs and the videos? No, of course you wouldn't. You would leave it in the portal. But what you would do is you'd break down that assignment into a couple different steps and write those individual steps in your planner on the particular days that you intend to do them. So you might read article 1 and watch video 1, Gothic Lit, okay, in your planner, and on for Monday, and you read article 2, watch video 2 in the Tuesday section of your planner. And of course, when you open your planner and you see, what's written inside on those 2 days, you obviously know to go into your learning management system to get those video links and to get the PDFs. I was asked recently by a student inside School Habits University if there is a particular planner that I recommend, and honestly, not really. The best planner is the one that you use. I am a fan of the at-a-glance planners as well as Blue Sky. You can get those on Amazon or Staples or Office Depot. They are simple, and that's why I like them. But more important than the brand of the planner is to pick the right one for you. So you want to think about size. Do you want the full size? Do you want the junior half size? Do you want to get paper planner with a coil binding, or is mechanically that going to be hard for you to write based on the mechanics of how you hold your pen? Think about paper thickness if bleed through bothers you. So think about those details. That's more important than what brand. And then lastly, I suggest having a weekly spread inside your planner where you can write assignments for each day of the week. So by the word spread, I usually mean you open up the planner and Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday is on one side and, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday is on the other side. So you can see the entire week when you open up the planner and have 2 pages open. Does that make sense? Like butterfly wings. And then probably having a monthly planner in there as well for big assignments and due dates. Not for assignments really, but for deadline-based things that are going to be on your digital calendar as well. Maybe a test or something, or school break. All right, and then to wrap up this part about task management and stuff, just a reminder, a task management system is about way more than the tool you use. You need to have a strategy for making sure that you use your system in a way that is helpful to you. All right. So where are you going to store your assignment notebook? When are you going to add assignments from your syllabus into your planner? What day of the week? Sunday, maybe? Are you going to transfer assignments from your learning management system into your planner? How often are you going to, look in your learning management system or your syllabus and see an upcoming test and then open your planner and schedule study sessions on the days leading up to your test? Now, a tip for creating habits is to do the habit that we want to create, especially on the days when we don't need to. So that means, that let's say you only have one class on a Friday and the assignment is in your learning management system and you don't feel like adding it to your planner. Do it anyway. Get in the habit of opening your learning management system and your planner every day and syncing them, right? And looking around and making sure that what is in one place is in the other, and making sure that when you have in there has a place on your calendar to get done. And that is actually where time management comes in, right? Because when we are looking at our LMS, our learning management system, on your assignment notebook, and you're realizing, hey, I need to plan a few study sessions leading up to next week's test. Well, then you look at your digital calendar and you say, well, okay, where are my pockets of time? When is the best time for me to have those study sessions? When is the best time for me to work on my essay that is due in a week? All right. So to recap that tip, it's kind of like 2 in 1. But you got to make sure that you have a time management system and a task management system that are functional, frictionless, and trustworthy. Now, if you create like a system or something in September when you start school and it works for a little bit and you find that, suddenly it's just not working anymore, like you're not reaching for your assignment notebook anymore, don't give up. Don't throw it away. Don't start from scratch with something else. Don't go out and buy something new. Use what you have and just tweak it. Ask yourself what's not working. What would make it easier to use? What's the simplest tweak that you can make to improve your system? And then lastly, something that I think will be really helpful as you head off into college is something that's more strategic or mindset based. Mindset was the word I couldn't think of earlier. In my experience, it's not a mindset that many high school students have, okay, but it is certainly necessary in college. And that is to figure out a way to avoid procrastination. I know you're not, asking about this directly, but it's related. We all procrastinate. I do it too. And I am not saying that there's some magic strategy for never procrastinating again, but the consequences of procrastinating in college are so much more severe than they are in high school. Procrastination in college snowballs faster and, leads to so much anxiety and overwhelm in like a single day. In high school, and you need like 5 days of procrastinating to stress you out. There's got to be some mindset work around starting things when you don't want to start them. Okay, taking the first step to writing an essay or studying for an exam or whatever your work is, taking that first step almost before it feels reasonable to do so. Okay? I'd say that getting a grasp on procrastination is perhaps single-handedly the most powerful weapon you have against overwhelm and bad academic performance. All right. I hope I answered your question in a way that feels doable and practical. I do have a episode all about task management. Can't think of the episode number off the top of my head. I will leave that in the show notes. And I liked this question. As I said, it gave me an opportunity to talk about some strategies I think might be helpful to students at any grade level, not just starting college. Okay, so question 1 is done. And now on to question 2. And this one is submitted by a working professional. Okay, I'm going to read it. Hold on. Okay. I have purchased secondhand books on a topic I am interested in, but the book has already been highlighted and annotated by someone else. How do I go about highlighting, annotating, and or taking notes from this type of book? That is a great question. Okay, episode 29, how to take useful notes from books. I think that's going to be really important for you to listen to because some of the strategies that I talk about in that episode, I'm going to share here right now. Fundamentally, that you need to know what your purpose is. Okay, you said you're reading a book that you're interested in. Is it personal? Is it professional? Is it academic? I know you're a working professional, so it's probably personal or professional. But what is it that you want to get out of that book? Okay, because, and then we guide our notes and our annotations. Remember, those are 2 separate things. Annotations are things that we write in the book, that we highlight, and then we write little notes on the side. And then taking notes on a book is when you extract information from a book that you're reading and you put it somewhere else, usually in a notebook, okay? Whether you're annotating or you're taking notes, you have to start with your purpose. Why the heck are you reading the book in the first place? Okay, what do you want to get out from it? What do you want to pull from it? And that is the lens that you look through when you're reading something and you're going to say, do I need to write this down? Is this worthy of a note? Is this something I should highlight and take a note on? The answer is, well, is that something that you want to learn from the book? Is that the reason you're reading the book? Because hear me out. Someone else read that book before you and they may have had a separate purpose. They may have read that book for an entirely different reason that you are reading it. So they may have highlighted things that were important for their purpose that aren't necessarily important for your purpose. We also can never assume we know anything about the skill level of somebody who read the book before us. Okay, so they might be like, I don't know what I'm highlighting, and just sort of like highlighting random things. And you would not want to be led down the wrong path by following someone else's annotations. So truthfully, if I were to boil this answer down into something simple, I would generally say, ignore someone else's highlights. You can be curious about it. You can be like, they highlighted this. I wonder why. Is that interesting? But I wouldn't let someone else's highlights or annotations inform your use of the book. Now, the only exception to this is, and I don't think this is your situation, but if you're a student and it's a book that is provided by the school, everybody is reading Catcher in the Rye, right? And the book's been passed along for like 15 years. Well, then chances are students reading the book before you are going to have the same intention when reading the book. So their annotations would be relevant to what your purpose is. But that's not the scenario that I'm gathering from you. It's more like either professional or personal. And you don't know why someone else highlighted what they did. I would say put your blinders on, maybe look at those highlights with curiosity, but not as an indicator that that content that they annotated or highlighted is important. I wouldn't do that. And then make sure that you go back to listen to episode 29 about how to take useful notes from books, because that's where, whether you're annotating or taking notes, I talk about the importance of finding your purpose before reading. Like, what is it that when you close the book, you're going to say, you know what? I got this from the book. All right. Like, what is the this? We have to have that first. And then we take notes or annotate from there. Awesome question. Thank you for submitting it. And I hope that was helpful. We are now going to move on to our third and final question, which I am also going to read. I feel a little embarrassed to ask my question, but I'm going to ask it anyway because I'm genuinely looking for advice that can help me get unstuck. I've been working in the banking industry for over 20 years. I'm 54 years old, and I think I have another 10 years left in me before retirement, but I've been feeling run down lately about my situation. Although I have the most experience of anyone on my team, I feel at a disadvantage compared to the new young hires at our company. I'm truly an expert at what I do, and I know I'm good at it, but I can't help feel slow and old compared to fresh college graduates who seem to do everything quickly and differently. I guess what I'm asking is, do you have any advice to how to stay current and relevant? I don't want to feel old and slow anymore. Okay. I really feel this question, and I really feel the emotion from which you asked it. Let's start with no, you are not old, okay? And you are not slow. I am younger than you. I'm currently 41, but even I feel super old when I'm making a YouTube video, for example, for my School Habits channel. And I am seeing other YouTubers in their like early 20s creating videos about their, 2-hour morning routine of meditation and yoga and matcha lattes and journaling. And I'm over here just like literally trying to get my kids out the door and my lunch packed and like making sure the soccer uniforms are washed before I go to work. Okay, so I know what you're feeling. And I think many listeners, even younger than you, feel old when we start comparing. So obviously the quick but not very easy strategy is to not compare yourself to anybody else, right? Assuming that you have tried that and it didn't work, and that is what led you to submit your question here today. Let me see if I can take a stab at this. There are probably two approaches here, a mindset/perspective approach, and then an approach that might be more skill-based. So now that I'm saying that out loud, let's actually start with the skills, okay? A very real question that you want to ask yourself is, do you have the skills required to do your job well enough? And honestly, it sounds like you do. You said you have a lot of experience, right? And years. But if you're looking at colleagues around you doing a similar job, but more efficiently or better, then you have to ask yourself, do they have a skill that you do not have yet? I would wager a bet for all of my pennies that you have stronger social awareness skills and emotional skills and customer service skills and overall people skills than any college graduate that you are working with just because you've been in the position or in the industry for 20 years. Okay, but these kids, these new hires, are they possessing a particular skill set that would be useful for you to acquire as well? Is there something related to technology or computers that would be helpful for you to learn? Is there a more efficient way for you to complete some sort of standard processes that are part of your job description in your daily work? If so, then perhaps it is worth identifying what those skills are and then finding a way to acquire them. Doesn't have to be master's degree level here, but maybe you can ask one of these younger kids to show you how they do it or to explain what they're doing, or maybe you simply sort of just like observe them. There is a real possibility that the new hires do have some kind of skill that would make your job easier. And in most cases, that's going to be related to technology. But be careful here, because I want you to keep in mind that different doesn't mean better. If they are doing something differently than you, that does not mean that their way is better than the way you've been doing it. So the criteria we are looking for here is if they are doing a similar process more efficiently and more productively and more successfully, okay, then that would be something that is worth learning. Now, if you have identified that there is a skill gap and you don't think it's something that the younger, colleagues could teach you, then you could likely find out how to develop that skill on YouTube. Right? We don't jokingly call it YouTube University for nothing. The key to getting what you need, though, from YouTube is to know exactly what you are looking for. So a simple YouTube search for how to get better at technology is absolutely not going to give you any kind of helpful answer. But if you know that your colleagues are using a particular type of banking software, sorry, I know nothing about banking software, so forgive me if this example sounds super dumb, but let's say your colleagues are using a particular type of software to complete a process more efficiently than the way you are using that software. Then you can find a tutorial on that exact skill being specific in your search query. Now, I don't mean for this at all to be a shameless plug for School Habits University, but I am going to mention it here because it's relevant. I first created School Habits University for high school and college students to learn academic skills that were required for learning, things like task management, time management, organization, study skills, note-taking, things like that. But when I first opened the course for enrollment, in 2023, I got so many students who are adult professionals. It blew my mind. I was like, oh no, are you the parent? Like, are you like, oh my gosh. I had no marketing at all related to the professional industry. I never marketed the course to anyone other than high school and college students. So yes, I was absolutely shocked when adult professionals, some of them in school, as well as going back for like advanced ed or whatever, I was shocked when they enrolled. Now, since my first enrollment, I've continued to attract working professionals to the course, despite me still not having one bit of marketing materials or advertisements for anyone other than high school and college students and graduate students. When I talk to adults, professionals inside the course, and I learn more about them and I answer their questions, I've come to learn that these people are looking to develop the skills that they wish they had in high school. And now they wish they had in the workforce. Things like organization and task management and time management. Yeah, these are skills that can be taught and they can benefit professionals just as much as they can benefit students. Now, I said it wasn't a shameless plug. It's not. I am sharing this because it's part of the course I mentioned earlier, but I offer 12 months of Q&A opportunities, and I do receive questions similar to the one that you submitted here. These questions are from adult professionals looking for ways to stay relevant, current, competitive, and valuable in their specific industry. So I know we just spent a few minutes talking about potential technical skill gaps, but I want you to consider the possibility that maybe you have some system skill gaps. Like in the way that you operate from day to day, your time management, your task management, email management, organization, things like that. Because that is a possibility that I want you to investigate as well. Okay, we're running long here, but I'm gonna finish your question. My second piece of advice doesn't have anything to do with skill really, but more about mindset and perspective. Maybe at the very least, what I'm gonna offer here will remind you of something that you already know. And that is the value of the other things that you bring to the table. Good, valuable employees like yourself are not only valuable because of how fast you work. You've been in the industry for, you said 20 years. And it's my guess that those younger employees who have been joining your team over the course of 20 years have not knocked you out of your position. So that means that you are providing value to your company in a way that is not measured by seconds and minutes. Maybe it's your leadership skills. Maybe it's the way you communicate with others. Maybe it is your people skills, which I mentioned earlier. Perhaps your superpower is critical thinking and problem solving and your analytical mind. Maybe it's your actual industry knowledge. You have literally 20 years worth of knowing more things than any of the new hires probably put together. These what we would consider soft skills. If you're listening to this podcast on like an app or something, I'm using air quotes around soft. These skills are so massively valuable to every single industry, right? And they're not the skills that they teach you in college. These are the skills earned through experience and time, which you, my friend, have. So the next time you're feeling old and slow, maybe you need to remind yourself that you're the one with the skills that cannot be taught, right? And those are the skills that are what any company worth their salt is looking for in an employee. So from one old slow person to the next, keep going, keep showing up, keep evolving, keep developing your skills when it would make sense to do so. All right? That brings us to the end of the episode. If you found this helpful, I would love if you could share it, leave a review, subscribe, follow the show, all of the things that honestly make such a difference and an impact in helping me spread the word. And with that, I leave you with my best advice, which is to never stop learning.